Diljit Dosanjh, in one of his recent events, had claimed that he tried to get out of his body, probably while meditating. Now, how does this happen? There are several technicalities behind it. One is life energy, which is the prana, which controls the breathing process. In a certain state of meditation, the prana stabilizes the breath in the most centralized location of the body. In this present situation, the breath or the air makes minimum movement, close to none. That's when, in this state, attention is completely in the realm of space. That is why I said that prana stabilizes the breath in the centralized location, meaning there is no sense of breath as well. In this state, there is a possibility that nothingness, not the soul, not the energy, but nothingness can get out of the body and unite with nothingness. It is only nothingness that can unite with nothingness. Something or another thing can never unite with nothing. This is the first technicality. Second technicality is that this state is very hard for a man to achieve. It is quite easy for a woman to achieve. This is exactly why Jaggi Vasudev ji, famously known as Sadhguru, claims that his wife left the body in the state of Samadhi, because it is quite easy for a woman to enter such kind of a state. Why is that so? This is primarily based on the intensity of heat stored within the body. And this heat within a man's body is extremely intense, whereas in a woman's body, it isn't so intense. Let me break down this aspect for you. A woman's physiology, when compared to a man, is weak. It isn't so strong. This is exactly why a woman does not require so much of food, and hence her intake of food is less. If the intake of food is less, then naturally that food going through the digestive process will generate less heat. That is why I said that intensity of heat within a woman's body is less. Whereas a man's body is quite strong. That is why to maintain and sustain its strength, it requires more food. And if the man has more food, then naturally that food going through the digestive process will regenerate more heat. That is why I said that this heat within a man's body is quite intense. Now, this happens when this heat completely exits out of the body. And as said, that there is intense heat within a man's body when compared to a woman's body. This is exactly why this state of the soul or even nothingness getting out of a man's body is very hard when compared to a woman's body. This is the second aspect. The third aspect. This state requires extreme stillness. That is why the breath and the air also becomes extremely still. If air becomes still, then this air wouldn't be able to intensify the heat within the body, which in the disguise of emotions constantly connects itself with memory and thus creates chain of thoughts. So if the breath becomes still, then naturally the mind and the thoughts will become still. Without absolute stillness, this state is highly impossible. And when the mind becomes still, naturally the mind will make the body still as well. This itself is known as the state of Samadhi or even Sun Samadhi. When the body becomes completely still, it is very easy to understand. Right now, my hands, my fingers are moving. How is this happening? Because the mind, in the disguise of memories, is providing the brain and the body with information, with commands. This is exactly why my hands are moving. It isn't still. That means just because there is movement going on within the mind, that is why you can see this movement on the body as well. But in that state, the mind becomes absolutely still. This is exactly why the body also becomes completely still. With all due respect, Diljit Dosanjh ji's profession is such that it demands hyperactivity. For people who are hyperactive, it is very, very hard for their minds and bodies to become so still. This is exactly why there is a high possibility that his mind, while meditating, created a delusion within him that he is getting out of his body. In fact, if we observe the technical aspect of this, if he claims that he was going to get out of the body, that means somewhere he remembers that in that situation he was going to get out of the body. If he remembers, that means in that present situation a thought within his mind arose that I am probably getting out of the body. And in that situation, if the thought arose, that means in that situation his mind wasn't still. And if the mind isn't still, then it is impossible to enter such a state, to consciously exit out of the body. Now, I'm not claiming that he lied. In fact, this is the truth for him.